This documentary is based on historical records and aims to provide an educational overview of Ilya Ivanov's experiments. The content is intended for informational purposes and does not endorse or promote unethical scientific practices. In the annals of scientific history, few endeavors are as audacious and ethically contentious as the Soviet Union's attempt to create a human-ape hybrid, colloquially termed the humanzee. Spearheaded by biologist Ilya Ivanovich Ivanov in the 1920s, this venture sought to blur the lines between species, challenging both scientific understanding and moral boundaries. This documentary delves deep into Ivanov's controversial experiments, the socio-political climate that fostered such ambitions, and the enduring ethical questions they provoke. Born on August 1, 1870, in Shigry, Russia, Ilya Ivanovich Ivanov emerged as a prominent figure in the field of biology. A graduate of Kharkiv University in 1896, Ivanov's early work focused on artificial insemination and the hybridization of animals. His pioneering techniques in artificially inseminating horses revolutionized animal breeding, allowing a single stallion to fertilize multiple mares, thereby enhancing genetic diversity and livestock quality. Ivanov's success in animal hybridization led him to contemplate more ambitious projects. In 1910, at the World Congress of Zoologists in Graz, Austria, he proposed the possibility of creating a human-ape hybrid through artificial insemination. He theorized that such a hybrid could offer profound insights into human evolution, genetics, and the fundamental question of what separates humans from other primates. The early 20th century was a period of significant upheaval and transformation in Russia. The Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 had ushered in a new socialist regime, emphasizing atheism and the rejection of traditional religious beliefs. The Soviet leadership was keen to promote scientific endeavors that aligned with their ideological framework, particularly those that could challenge religious doctrines and underscore the principles of materialism and evolution. Ivanov's proposal to create a human-ape hybrid resonated with the Soviet authorities' desire to debunk religious notions of human exceptionalism. By demonstrating the close genetic relationship between humans and apes, the experiment aimed to provide tangible evidence for Darwinian evolution and the materialist conception of life, thereby undermining religious teachings about the divine origin of humans. With backing from the Soviet government, Ivanov embarked on his ambitious project. In 1926, he traveled to French Guinea in West Africa, accompanied by his son. Their mission was to capture chimpanzees and attempt artificial insemination experiments. Ivanov managed to capture 13 chimpanzees, 3 of which were selected for the initial experiments. In Conakry, the capital of French Guinea, Ivanov inseminated these female chimpanzees with human sperm, hoping to achieve a successful hybridization. Despite meticulous efforts, none of the chimpanzees became pregnant. The failure of these initial experiments did not deter Ivanov. Instead, it prompted him to consider alternative approaches. Upon returning to the Soviet Union, Ivanov established a primate research center in Sukhumi, Abkhazia, on the Black Sea coast. This facility was intended to house a population of apes for ongoing research. However, acquiring a sufficient number of apes proved challenging due to logistical difficulties and high mortality rates during transportation. Facing these obstacles, Ivanov proposed a controversial reversal of his initial approach, inseminating human females with ape sperm. He believed that this method might overcome the barriers encountered in his earlier experiments. Reports suggest that he sought female volunteers for this procedure, and remarkably, several women expressed willingness to participate, driven by a sense of scientific curiosity or ideological commitment. Tragically, the sole adult male primate available for the experiment, an orangutan named Tarzan, died before the procedure could be conducted. This setback, coupled with mounting ethical concerns and political shifts within the Soviet Union, led to the suspension of Ivanov's experiments. The late 1920s and early 1930s marked a period of political purges and ideological realignments within the Soviet Union. Ivanov, once a celebrated scientist, found himself under scrutiny. In 1930, he was arrested on charges that remain unclear, but were likely politically motivated. He was subsequently sentenced to exile in the Kazakh SSR, where he continued to work at the Kazakh Veterinary Zootechnical Institute. On March 20, 1932, Ivanov died of a stroke, marking the end of his controversial scientific pursuits. Ivanov's attempts to create a human-ape hybrid raise profound ethical questions that continue to resonate in contemporary scientific discourse. His work challenges us to consider the moral boundaries of scientific experimentation, particularly when it involves the potential creation of new life forms or the manipulation of genetic material across species. The concept of a human-ape hybrid blurs the lines between human and animal, prompting debates about personhood, rights, and the definition of humanity. While Ivanov's experiments did not succeed, they serve as a cautionary tale about the potential consequences of unchecked scientific ambition and the importance of ethical oversight in research. The ethical dilemmas highlighted by Ivanov's work are not confined to the past. Advances in genetic engineering, cloning, and stem cell research present new challenges that echo the controversies of the early 20th century. The creation of chimeras, organisms containing cells from different species, for medical research, such as growing human organs in animals for transplantation, raises questions about the moral status of these entities and the potential for unintended consequences. In 2019, reports emerged of researchers led by Juan Carlos Izpizua Belmonte at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in the U.S. successfully producing the first human-monkey chimera. These embryos were allowed to develop for only a few weeks, avoiding more severe ethical concerns. However, the research was reportedly carried out in China to navigate legal restrictions, highlighting the complex ethical and regulatory landscape of such studies. The Soviet quest for a human-ape hybrid, led by Ilya Ivanovich Ivanov, remains one of the most audacious and ethically complex endeavors in scientific history. It serves as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between the pursuit of knowledge and the ethical responsibilities that accompany it. As science continues to advance, Ivanov's story underscores the necessity of ethical vigilance and the importance of considering the broader implications of our quest to understand and manipulate the natural world. The Soviet human-ape hybrid experiment remains one of the most disturbing, controversial, and ethically outrageous scientific pursuits in history. Ilya Ivanovich Ivanov wasn't just trying to breed animals. He was trying to rewrite the laws of nature, forcing two different species to merge in an experiment that should never have been attempted. But why? Why would the Soviet Union fund such a bizarre and questionable project? Was it just a reckless scientific endeavor? Or was there a deeper, more sinister agenda? Let's step back and look at the big picture. Some historians believe that Stalin himself supported experiments like this because he wanted to create a new kind of soldier, a hybrid warrior with the intelligence of a man and the brute strength of an ape. Imagine an army of superhuman fighters, immune to pain, cold, and hunger, capable of tearing enemies apart with their bare hands. Is it really that far-fetched? We know that during World War II, Nazi Germany conducted gruesome experiments on humans to try and create biological advantages in war. The US and Soviet Union both recruited Nazi scientists after the war in Operation Paperclip, allowing some of these twisted minds to continue their work in secret. If the Cold War was about winning at all costs, would Stalin and the Soviets have ignored the chance to build an unstoppable army? Some theorists believe that Ivanov's human-ape hybrid experiment wasn't really about evolution or genetics, but about power. What if this wasn't just about science, but about controlling human biology itself? Think about it. The Soviet Union was obsessed with controlling its population. Genetic modification experiments were already being explored to create perfect Soviet citizens. The government wanted to prove that human life was no different from animal life, a belief that fit their anti-religion agenda. What if Ivanov's experiments were just a test? A trial run for something even bigger, modifying humans, altering genetics, controlling the very fabric of life. Sound crazy? Maybe. But science was moving faster than ethics, and the Soviet Union had no problem eliminating those who stood in its way. Even though Ivanov's experiment failed, the idea of genetic hybrids, human modification, and biological enhancement never really went away. Today, scientists are editing genes, creating animal-human chimeras, and experimenting with DNA in ways that Ivanov could only dream of. And here's the real question. If AI, genetic engineering, and bioenhancement keep advancing, could someone try this experiment again? We have the technology, we have the knowledge, and history has shown us that when people want power, they will do anything to get it. Maybe, just maybe, the Human-Zee project isn't over.